the reason why everybody thought I dropped out of high school. Over the 4 years of high school, I was probably in school a total of 100 times altogether. And this wasn't because I was lazy, I mean partially, but it was mostly because I had really bad stomach problems. So I always had these doctor's appointments, I was always missing school because my stomach hurt. So then my junior year, since my attendance was really bad, they decided to put me on home instruction. This means that teachers would come to my house for about 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. And my teachers had to bring with them these time slips, for example saying that they saw me from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And when I was a minor, my dad had to sign it. And when they hand in those time slips, those are the hours they're getting paid for. So I had this one teacher. She was my history teacher, but we would literally just gossip the entire time. She was mad chill. Sometimes, though, she would cancel on me, and sometimes I would cancel on her. But this was my senior year, so I was 18. So I was able to sign the time slips. So I saw her once a month when I was supposed to see her 4 times a month. So every time she came, I signed 4 time slips. I got the credit, she got the check.
Story time about the time a nail salon took advantage of my blindness. Sister and I got our nails done. We used to go all the time, and while the lady was doing my nails, she asked me how I knew how much money I had. At the time, I used cash, never again after this, but I told her that I folded my bills a certain way. I told her that I folded my 20s different than my 10s, different than my 5s, different than my 1s. Anything of her asking that question, I think it's a good question, and I just thought she was curious. I got done with my nails, she walked me towards the front, and my sister was actually just finishing up with hers, so it was perfect. There's another man at the front, and he asked me how I knew how much money I had. I told him the same thing. Before I left to go to the nail salon, I made sure exactly how much money I had. My sister helped me count it, helped me make sure that I folded the right bills, just so I knew how much I had, how much I would spend. I gave her the money, positive that I gave her the right amount because it was just folded, it was folded perfectly, and I counted it out. She takes it, starts talking in a different language, and then tells me that I owe her $20 more. Or I didn't, and I told her the exact amount I gave her, and she's like, no, you didn't give me this amount, you gave me that amount. Like for part 2. Part 2, the time a nail salon took advantage of my blindness. We go back and forth a few times. I'm positive that I gave her the right amount, really counting it back to her, and she's like, no, you're wrong. And at this point, more people are walking into the salon, so I'm getting really uncomfortable. Back at it, I should have pulled out my phone that has a money reader on it and read her the money using my screen reader, but I was super uncomfortable and more people were walking in, and I just wanted to leave it at that. My sister was paying somewhere else. I had no idea where she was, and I didn't want to call out to her or anything, so when we got home, I wanted to double check that these people were actually scamming me. My sister helped me look at the money, and aside from the amount I paid for my nails, obviously, in the tip, I was missing $20. We can learn something from most situations, and this situation just taught me to not carry around cash.
This is the reason why I never wore big dresses to school. Let me set the scene for you. 4th grade Joe, 9 years old, super perky and happy to be wearing a giant dress to school. You know, I don't know why I was. Maybe we had just gotten it. I was super excited about it. It was like a Wednesday. I was probably like, Mom, I want to wear this dress. And since I was mainly tomboyish my entire life, she was probably like, yes, wear it. So I took it to school. So I took it to school. It made playtime a little complicated, but that's fine. Recess was fine. I was one of those kids who liked to roll around in the dirt, climb trees, all that jazz. And I'm like, it's just a dress, it'll be fine. So it's time for like nutrition class. I don't know, they're trying to teach us about like pyramids and like food groups. My teacher starts looking at me funny. And then she kind of just says to the entire class, Jozadak? And I'm like, is it Jozadak? Can you come with me outside for a second? I'm like, yeah, sure. 4th grade me just comes with her outside. And when we're outside, she closes the door. And I'm like, huh. She slowly takes off her shoe. I was like, oh, look for part 2. Okay, part 2. I honestly didn't expect to make 2 parts out of this. So my teacher was looking at me like so intensely while she was taking off her shoe. And I was so confused. Miss whatever your name is, because I don't remember. What are you doing? And she goes, don't move. And I start panicking. But I do what she says. Like, she gets her shoe, she holds it up to here. And then she throws it at me. And I literally jumped. She hit me in the bottom half of my dress. The shoe went flying. You know what else went flying? Right next to her shoe was the giantest spider I have ever seen in my life. I think it was a tarantula, which would have been fine because tarantulas are pretty much harmless. But at the time, both her and I were freaking out. She literally knocked the spider out. Her aim was so good. I'm actually amazed right now. She's like, oh my God, I saw that on your dress when you came in and I had to get it off. I was like, thank you. Yeah, I had no idea that was on there. So I retired that dress. No more dresses to school, not for Joe. Thanks for watching, Yo te amo.
This is why waking up late might just save your life. One day when I was in elementary school, my mom and I both overslept, which meant I wouldn't be ready in time to get on the bus. School started at 8, my bus pickup time was at 7, and it was already 6:40 or something. I was still in my PJs and hadn't even had breakfast yet. My mom decided that today we would just tell the bus driver to go on ahead and she would take me to school, which would give me plenty of time to get ready.
It's 6:50, I'm in my PJs eating breakfast, and that's when we hear the bus pull up 10 minutes earlier than scheduled. My mom peeks her head out of the door into the foggy morning and waves the bus on. She closed the door and came back inside, but the bus didn't pull away. There's a knock at the door, and my mom opens it to find a man in a bus driver uniform. He explains he's a substitute bus driver because the regular driver called in sick and that he's early because he wanted to get an early start on the route. My mom says she's taking me to school because we woke up late. He gets visibly upset and says he can wait a few minutes since he's already ahead of schedule. My mom says that we won't be ready in a few minutes and tells him to go on ahead. He seemed really angry about this, but turned around, got back on the bus, and left. But at 7 a.m., another bus pulls up to my house. My mom went out to talk to them and came back looking terrified. Part 2 of why sleeping in might just save your life. After talking to the bus driver, my mom came back looking terrified, but she didn't say anything about it and told me to finish getting ready for school. At the time, I didn't know what happened, but my mom would end up telling me a few years later. When she went to the second bus, she found out it was being driven by my regular driver and it was full of other kids that are usually on my route. By the way, the other bus was empty. My mom asked the driver about the substitute driver and about him calling in sick. He tells her that he never called in sick and there is no substitute driver on his route. The driver immediately called dispatch in a panic and told my mom to go inside and call the police and report this incident, which she did without me knowing at the time. There was absolutely no one doing my driver's route that day. Whoever this was most likely a kidnapper who had targeted me. I never heard anything about it again, not even if someone else had ended up being picked up by this mysterious fake bus driver. But chances are, had I gotten on that bus, I would never have made it to school or back home. And if we hadn't overslept on that specific day, I would have been on that bus.